Hello. Welcome back to Snugglewood, young Dreamlynx. My name is Arin. Snuggle down into your coziest quilt and let tonight's calming tale and soothing sounds relieve you of any worries and guide you towards a deep, restful night's sleep under these beautiful stars above. And so our story begins in a place called Dolphin Bay and the sleepy giant tale of Manta Ray Maze. It was a calm, starry night in Dolphin Bay, where the waves made their rhythmic lullaby against the golden sands. The sleepy giant rested at the edge of the reef, where the sea's endless whispers and the celestial waltz of the moon offered a serene backdrop to his dreams. The sleepy giant was a guardian of the underwater world, his enormous form draped in coral and sea anemones that swayed softly in time with the tide. Tonight, however, something stirred in the waters. A subtle, inviting pull toward the mysterious Manta Ray Maze. The Manta Ray Maze was a labyrinth of underwater arches and caverns. Its name derived from the graceful manta rays that often glided through its shadows, like celestial sheets moving through the universe. The maze was said to be enchanted, a place beyond the ordinary, where the waters seemed thicker, infused with some ancient magic. It was here that the stories were whispered about rediscovering forgotten parts of oneself and unearthing long-dormant dreams. As the moonlight pierced the turquoise waters, the sleepy giant felt the familiar tug of curiosity pulling at his dreams. Impulsively, his massive form stirred, sending a gentle current through the coral gardens that danced in response. Slowly, he descended toward the glowing entrance of the Manta Ray Maze. His movements steady and calm, yet guided by a growing sense of wonder about what lay within. Entering, the sleepy giant was greeted by a dazzling display of bioluminescence that painted the maze's walls in shades of green and blue. The light pulsed in rhythmic waves, mirroring the steady beat of the sea. The corridors twisted and turned abruptly, spiraling downward at times, forever shifting. Golden sponges and spiral-shaped starfish adorned every surface, while mist-like schools of the shiniest fish darted in synchronized patterns before vanishing into hidden crevices. The heart of the Manta Ray Maze brimmed with life. Soft eddies carried particles that sparkled like dust caught in sunlight. It was here that the manta rays gathered, their enormous wings moving in slow, hypnotic undulations. Their forms glided effortlessly through the maze, ethereal wonders of the deep. The sleepy giant watched, mesmerized, as their peaceful presence filled him with a sensation he could only describe as belonging, a quiet connection to the currents of the sea. Yet, the maze was not without its challenges. The deeper the sleepy giant ventured, the more distant the sunlight became, replaced by the subtle glow of phosphorescence. The paths narrowed and forked unexpectedly, creating moments of uncertainty amidst the tranquil beauty. The sleepy giant relied on intuition and the gentle guidance of the manta rays to find his way forward. Each corner brought a new marvel: the sparkling tracings of translucent jellyfish, vibrant gardens of flowing kelp, and the echoes of distant whale songs reverberating through the cavernous spaces. Time seemed to bend within the maze, the sleepy giant losing track of hours, perhaps even days. But he did not feel weary. Instead, his thoughts drifted with ease to memories and dreams long forgotten. The maze had a way of drawing forth these fragments of the past, placing them before him like pearls scattered upon the sand. He recalled companions from days gone by, and the quiet joys of drifting between the sunlit grottos and deep-sea ravines. At the very core of the maze, a chamber unlike any other opened before him. The water here seemed impossibly still, as though time paused to dwell in this sacred space. The manta rays hovered gracefully, forming an almost protective circle around a glowing central pool. The light from the pool reflected subtly, illuminating the intricate patterns woven into the walls. Patterns that whispered of an ancient tale, a story of unity between the sea and its guardians. The sleepy giant approached this pool, sensing that it held a meaning he was yet to uncover. Staring into its depths, he saw reflections not of himself, but of the interconnected nature of the ocean. It was a reminder of all the lives that thrived within the underwater world, each playing its part in the harmonious dance of life. His heart swelled with a deep, abiding peace, and he understood that this was the gift of the Manta Ray Maze, to reveal the quiet truths hidden within the currents of existence. Retracing his steps, the sleepy giant carried with him the soothing essence of the maze, its wisdom etched into the very fabric of his being. The manta rays guided him back to the maze's entrance, their presence a calm and constant reassurance. When he finally emerged into the open waters of Dolphin Bay, the dawn was breaking, casting soft hues of pink and gold across the horizon. The rays of sunlight stretched over the sea, bathing the sleepy giant in their warm, radiant glow. He returned to his space at the edge of the reef, where the waves still carried their endless whisper. Closing his eyes, he felt the comforting pull of sleep once more. Yet, this time, his dreams were richer, more vivid, filled with the lessons and tranquil beauty of the Manta Ray Maze. The sleepy giant drifted into a serene slumber, his form now a part of the ocean's eternal rhythm, one with the tide, the sky, and those beautiful stars above. The ocean moved in harmony with the sleepy giant's deep, steady breaths. Time seemed to fade into nothingness, as the calm of his sleep comforted him. The sea's gentle push and pull cradled him as though it had always been his home. With the stars lighting the endless water above, his dreams unfolded in seamless waves of colour and memory. The luminous manta rays that had guided him earlier danced once more through his imagination, leaving trails of wispy light in their wake. The sleepy giant felt himself becoming a quiet observer in the dreamlike depths of the ocean. Here, every moment felt deliberate, but unhurried. He sensed the sleek rhythm of a dolphin pod passing by. Their movements sent subtle ripples through the dream ocean, each wave carrying whispers of their infinite journeys along unseen currents. The dolphins disappeared as quickly as they arrived, leaving a trail of sparkling serenity in their absence. There was no rush, no need to follow. He belonged here, floating amidst the slow rhythm of this liquid world. His dream carried him deeper, into a realm where the blues and greens shifted into soft gradients of twilight. The bioluminescence of smaller creatures illuminated the darkness. Flickering like stars beneath the surface, these ethereal lights pulsed with the beat of the ocean's heart. The sleepy giant could feel the rhythm resonating through him. Each pulse brought a deeper connection to the life teeming around him. He drifted between delicate coral towers that rose like cathedrals, their branches swaying gently in the unseen current. Tiny fish darted in and out, weaving the intricate fabric of the reef's living ecosystem. Time continued to stretch in peculiar, soothing ways. He couldn't tell if hours or seconds passed as he moved along with the dream current. Suddenly, a warm orange glow began to rise from the depths. It wasn't sunlight, but a magical inner radiance emanating from within the ocean. The sleepy giant felt its pull, a quiet invitation rather than a command, and he allowed himself to drift toward it. The waters grew warmer, and the light became a vibrant, enveloping glow that felt alive and welcoming, as if an ancient presence were watching over all these waters. At the source of the light, the ocean floor revealed itself as a vast expanse that seemed to stretch infinitely in every direction. Warm sands swirled gently as the currents pulled them in mesmerizing patterns. Here, amidst the glowing expanse, emerged a clear vision of the creatures shaping this underwater world. Large, flowing jellyfish hovered gracefully, their translucent tendrils glowing with hues of amber, pink, and gold, their presence both calming and mystifying. They seemed to move in symphony, their gentle motion a reflection of an energy beyond comprehension. The sleepy giant felt no need to act or intervene. He simply absorbed the quiet majesty of what appeared before him. He could sense that every movement, every ripple of water, every glowing trail existed in perfect harmony with the fabric of the ocean. It was a serene, dreamlike balance. Slowly, as if to further weave him into this world, the sands beneath glowed beautifully, forming gentle swirling patterns that felt both ancient and unknowable. The movement seemed to etch stories into the seabed, tales of life, of cycles, of change and constancy. These stories were not words or images, but feelings. The sleepy giant understood them instinctively. Drifting deeper still, he encountered a towering forest of kelp, swaying like liquid pillars in a cathedral of endless water. Each strand seemed alive, brushing softly against him as he moved. Tiny sea creatures clung to the kelp, moving between its shafts of golden green light. It was a quiet world within a world, and everything here seemed suspended in perfect tranquillity. He wandered through it, the touch of the kelp and the sound of the distant current, blending into a melody that could never be forgotten. Once he had passed through the kelp forest, the seascape opened into a gentle expanse of rolling underwater dunes. They shone in iridescent light, broken occasionally by blooming gardens of anemones and sponges. This dreamy terrain carried him higher, until the ocean darkened into a rich blue again. The dancing rays of the manta reappeared in the distance, painting the water with renewed brilliance. They had been waiting. His heart knew it. They moved effortlessly around him, their gentle light twirling like scattered beams of moonlight reflected on the surface above. The sleepy giant slowly floated among them, captivated and spellbound. Their presence filled him with peace so deep it resonated through his core. The manta rays led him once more, moving in deliberate, graceful arcs through the now familiar labyrinth of the Manta Ray Maze. But this time, the maze had subtly transformed. The walls of coral shone softly as though attuned to the ray's light, offering a guidance instead of a challenge. There was no longer a sense of direction or purpose, just being. Moving through this infinite, evolving space felt as though time melted away completely. He followed the rays until the ocean began to change once more. Above, the velvet blue faded into a lighter hue, a promise of morning creeping into his dream. The waters warmed gently, the light above softening into pale gold. The manta rays slowed in pace, signalling an end to this timeless voyage. Surrounding him, the ocean whispered a final lullaby, a sonnet of waves, currents, and gentle marine life, continuing its eternal rhythm. It was a song of existence and serenity, one that he carried with him as he felt his dreams beginning to retreat. The sleepy giant rose with the current, his slumber pulling him gradually toward the waking world. Yet even as his dream faded, its lessons remained etched deep within, of harmony, balance, and the unyielding beauty of the world beneath the waves. The stars that greeted him upon his earlier return still glowed in the light of the rising sun. He stirred, but for a moment he remained still, savouring the newfound connection within him. The ocean would always be there, its rhythm forever, its beauty infinite. And as long as it whispered its song, he would always find his way back. The rhythmic lapping of waves against the shore served as a gentle backdrop, urging him into a calm focus. Rising slowly, he stretched, feeling every fibre of his being ignite with the memory of the ocean's expanse. The salty air clung to his skin as he gazed out at the undulating surface before him, its blues and silvers moving like a sacred tapestry. There was something different about today, something that pulsed just beyond his grasp. A whisper on the breeze, perhaps, or the hint of an unexplored depth calling to him once again. He walked along the edge of the beach, his feet sinking into the cool, damp sand. Patterns left by the retreating tide formed intricate, swirling designs that seemed almost alive, like the currents he had observed beneath the waves. Every step felt meaningful, as though the earth was leading him somewhere. Ahead, a scattering of tide pools glistened in the early sunlight, their still waters reflecting miniature worlds within. Tiny crabs scuttled sideways across the sand, and vibrant sea anemones waved their delicate arms, catching fragments of the water's gifts. He kneeled beside one of the larger pools, peering into its depths. What he saw astounded him. A small, brightly textured creature with wings like mirror silver darted through the pool's confines. Its movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, as if embodying the very essence of the water around it. The creature paused for a moment, and its body caught the sunlight, refracting prismatic rays that danced across his face. It almost didn't seem real. A fragment of some ancient tale brought to life. Instinctively, he reached out a tentative hand, letting his finger hover just above the surface. The creature hesitated, then glided closer, curious but unafraid. As it swam near, he felt a sudden warmth spread through his chest, a feeling not unlike the one he'd experienced deep within the maze of the Manta Rays. It was as though the creature carried a spark of that same underwater magic, connecting him once more to the vastness of the ocean's mysteries. "Where are you?" he whispered, not expecting an answer, but feeling compelled to ask nonetheless. The creature blinked its curious eyes and then, in a sudden burst of energy, leapt from the water. For an instant, it hovered mid-air, its form flitting as though caught between this world and another. Then, with a splash, it dove back down, sending ripples through the pool that echoed like the soft tolling of distant bells. When the water stilled, the creature was gone, leaving only the slightest trace of colour behind, as if the pool had absorbed its luminescence. He sat back on his heels, the experience lingering in his mind like a half-remembered dream. Whatever connection he felt to the ocean, it was growing stronger, more insistent. This wasn't just about the manta rays or the maze. This was something deeper, something historic, that tied him to the water's stunning rhythm. Rising again, he continued his walk, following the shoreline as the tide began to recede further. Ahead, jagged rocks jutted out into the water, forming a natural bridge between the land and the sea. Pools of sunlight bathed their surfaces, and he could hear the pattering trickle of water cascading through cracks and crevices. The rocks beckoned him, their uneven shapes a challenge he eagerly accepted. Climbing carefully, he moved with an agility born from years of roaming similar coastlines. Each step brought him closer to the edge, where the rocks dipped into deeper water. Standing on the final outcropping, he looked back toward the shore. The beach stretched like a golden ribbon, framed by the rising cliffs beyond. It was beautiful, serene, and yet his mind was already wandering back to the underwater realm he had glimpsed so recently. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply, letting the sound of the waves flood his senses. Somewhere below, he could feel it. The pull of the currents, the quiet aura of life beneath the surface. Without hesitation, he dived into the water, the coolness covering him immediately. The transition was seamless, as though the waves themselves welcomed his return. Opening his eyes, he adjusted to the water light and began to swim. Here, among the filtered beams of sunlight and the gentle sway of seaweed, he felt truly at home. The ocean greeted him with open arms, its secrets waiting just out of reach. He moved with purpose, following an instinct he couldn't quite define. The water deepened and the colours shifted, growing richer and more profound. Soon he began to see familiar shapes materializing around him. Coral formations like sprawling cities, schools of fish weaving intricate patterns, and the tiny glimmer of light reflecting off the delicate surfaces of jellyfish. It was a living artwork, one he could spend a lifetime exploring and still not fully comprehend. Then he felt it. A low vibration in the water, almost inaudible at first, but growing steadily stronger. It was not a sound exactly, but a sensation, as though the very fabric of the ocean was singing with energy. He paused, turning in the water to locate the source. That's when he saw it, a flicker of movement in the distance, a shadow that danced along the edge of his vision. Curiosity spurred him forward. He swam toward the shadow, his strokes strong and purposeful. As he drew closer, he realized it was no shadow at all, but a procession of manta rays, their massive wings undulating gracefully as they glided through the current. They moved with a tranquil unity, their presence both peaceful and commanding. He marveled at their size, their elegance. Each motion seemed destined, as though choreographed by the tide. The manta rays led him further into the depths, their path meandering but certain. He followed, sensing that this was where he was meant to be. The vibrations in the water grew stronger, and he felt a strange anticipation building within him. They descended lower into a region of the ocean that seemed untouched by time. The light grew lower, replaced by a glowing bioluminescence that danced on the edges of his vision. The surroundings changed, filling him with undoubted stillness. The manta rays slowed their pace, almost hovering in the beautiful blue glow. Ahead, the outline of an immense structure began to emerge, its contours both alien and ancient. He hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing against him. But the pull forward was undeniable. Whatever lay ahead, it promised answers he could no longer ignore. As he dried off and gazed at the horizon one last time, a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it the promise of a peaceful night. The sounds of the waves lapping against the shore slowly faded into the background, inviting a deep sense of calm. With his heart full and his mind at ease, he turned toward home, ready to drift into a restful sleep, cradled by the memory of the ocean's unique beauty.